2. How the free reed organ, the Melodeon, came to Brattleboro, Vermont, USA. Free reed organ instruments have existed in Asia for over 3,000 years. Developed from the reed jaw harps. Became known in Europe in the 17th and 18th centuries for the first time. Was then combined with the European stop reed technique. Which leads to a new free reed variant. Which in turn was combined with the European bellows organ and stop technique for new instruments. The peak of this European development phase was the Harmonium, developed by Alexandre François Debigne, Paris, France. At this point, the USA was still in the early stages of developing free reed organs. By 1846, no more than 300 free reed organs had been built in the USA, most of which were copies of European free reed organs. An exception was James Amarox Bazin from Ponkapoag, Canton, Massachusetts. As early as 1821, Bazin built a brass sliding pitch pipe with the new European free reed variant in the USA. And in 1831, Bazin built his first Melodeon, first called Melodeon. Bazin's Melodeon worked similarly to the accordion, which was invented 2 years earlier by Cyril Damian in Vienna, Austria. In 1835, Bazin offered 2 improved Melodeons for sale in Boston, Massachusetts. Abraham Prescott bought these instruments in 1835 or 1836 at a dealer in Boston. Abraham Prescott was a bass viol maker from Deerfield, New Hampshire. Prescott opened a shop in Concord, New Hampshire in 1831. Since Bazin had no patent on his instrument, Abraham Prescott began to copy, develop, and sell this instrument as Melodeon in Concord, New Hampshire. This instrument was also the start of the Prescott Organ Company, which was founded in Concord, New Hampshire, dated with 1836. The Prescott factories produced bass and double bass viols, as well as Melodeons and Seraphines. The term Seraphine or Melodeon was used at this time indiscriminately in the USA. Seraphine was mostly used for free reed organs, based on the European pressure wind bellows technique. In the case of Prescott, Bazin's lap organ was probably named Melodeon. Other manufacturers also began to copy Bazin's Melodeon. Melodeon models with buttons, keys, or stands were created. Many of these Melodeon instruments were built in Concord, New Hampshire, which became the first center of free reed organ manufacturing in the USA. Manufacturers: Abraham Prescott Concord, Charles Austin Concord, Daniel Bartlett Concord. In 1842, the pipe organ builder Foster started building Melodeons as Foster&Thayer in Winchester, New Hampshire. In 1844-45, Foster&Thayer dissolved, and Foster went to Keene, New Hampshire, where he continued to work on free reed organs. An employee at Foster&Thayer in Winchester was Samuel H. Jones. After Foster went to Keene, Samuel H. Jones stayed in Winchester and tried to build Melodeons himself with his brother Joseph L. Jones, who worked for him from 1844 onwards. So far, 1831, Bazin invents the melodeon, in Ponkapoag, Canton, Massachusetts. 1835, Prescott buys Bazin's melodeon, in Boston, Massachusetts. Copies it, and sells it in Concord, New Hampshire. 1842, Foster&Thayer copies the melodeon, in Winchester, New Hampshire. Samuel H. Jones works for Foster&Thayer. 1844, Foster moves to Keene, New Hampshire, and builds melodeons there. 1844, Samuel H. Jones stays in Winchester, and builds melodeons with his brother, Joseph L. Jones. One day, in Winchester, Samuel H. Jones met Riley Burditt, a music shop owner from Brattleboro. Burditt ordered lap organs from Jones, which he wanted to sell, in his music shop, which he runs together with John Woodbury, in Brattleboro. Burditt didn't know whether he ordered the melodeons from Jones or from Foster. There was probably a quick transition phase from Foster&Thayer to Samuel H. Jones. So the first lap organs came from Winchester, New Hampshire, to Brattleboro, Vermont, in 1844, but were not yet built in Brattleboro. In Brattleboro, the melodeons were sold at the Woodbury and Burditt music shop. Woodbury and Burditt were musical instrument dealers in Brattleboro, Vermont in 1843. In addition to selling instruments, they also manufactured violins and violoncellos, made by Woodbury. In 1844, they relocated their store. Shortly thereafter, they received the first melodeon delivery from Winchester, New Hampshire. At the new location, Woodbury and Burditt expanded their range of musical instruments. Woodbury and Burditt, Brattleboro, Vermont, product range 1844. Manufactured violins and violoncellos. Sale, accordions, flageolets, flutes, strings, parlor organ, piano forte from Boston, melodeon from Winchester. Music books and walking canes, umbrellas, parasols. Woodbury and Burditt were already selling accordions in 1843, before the melodeons from Winchester came to Brattleboro in 1844. Accordions from Europe, developed in 1829 in Vienna, and rocking melodeons from the USA, were very similar in technology. The American melodeon developed at the same time as the European accordion variants. In 1846, Samuel H. Jones, melodeon manufacturer in Winchester, New Hampshire, and Woodbury and Burditt, music shop owner in Brattleboro, Vermont, decided to work together. The Jones brothers came to Brattleboro to build their melodeons, now in Brattleboro. In their package, 2 horse-drawn wagon loads, 2 workbenches, tools, a small amount of wood, suitcases with clothing, and other personal items to build elbow machines. Samuel H. Jones was the owner, and his brother Yospe L. Jones was his employee. In Brattleboro, they Jones brothers rented 3 rooms on the upper floor in the Smith&Woodcock Mill, also known as the Grist Mill. The Grist Mill was located above the village center in the west of Brattleboro. So the Jones brothers moved to Brattleboro in 1846 to build melodeons, and started a partnership with Woodbury and Burditt under the name S.H.Jones and Company. The melodeons were sold in Brattleboro and the greater Boston area through the music store of Woodbury and Burditt. As this report shows, the Jones brothers were only in the grist mill for a short time, as a new owner moved into their rooms already in 1847. This is the origin of the Brattleboro free reed organ industry. This little mill is the reason why the founding year of the Estey Organ Company is given as 1846. We will soon learn why. In 1847 of 48, the Jones brothers probably moved downtown, where they formed a new partnership. Jones and Burditt, Melodeons, Seraphines. Riley Burditt left Woodbury and Burditt for Jones and Burditt. Burditt now built Melodeons and Seraphines together with the Jones brothers. I found this Jones and Burditt organ on the Reed Organ Society website. Woodbury, Burditt's and Jones' former partner, continued to build violins in the old store in Brattleboro or, later, or, afterward, went to Keene, New Hampshire, depending on the source of research. Just 1 year later, Jones and Burditt changed their location again. Jones and Burditt moved into the former typographic building on Canal Street, to the other side of the Whetstone Brook, which according to my research, was just after the bridge. Let's take a look at a brief summary of this map. The Jones brothers came to Brattleboro in 1846 and built Melodeons at the grist mill. Samuel H. Jones formed a partnership with music store owners Woodbury and Burditt. S.H.Jones and Company. In 1847, Woodbury withdrew, and Jones and Burditt was formed at a new location. In 1848, Jones and Burditt moved to Canal Street. In 1850, Samuel H. Jones sold his shares to E.B. Carpenter, a farmer from Guilford. Burditt&Carpenter was formed. Samuel H. Jones sold his shares, but his brother, Joseph L. Jones, stayed as an employee in the new firm Burditt&Carpenter. I found this instrument at the Reed Organ Society. It's part of a lyre-leg melodeon. Burditt&Carpenter also did not stay at their location. In 1850 or 1848, depending on the source, Jacob Estey moved out of the Valley Mill with his small plumber shop. Jacob Estey built a new building at the Main Street Bridge. Estey ran several businesses in his new building and also rented space to other businessmen. In 1850, the new formed Melodeon Company, Burditt&Carpenter, moved into Jacob Estey's new building. This is just before Jacob Estey enters the free reed organ business. The Estey organ story has been complicated up to this point. But don't worry, it gets even more complicated. To keep you on track, you can find useful charts for this series on my ArtStation page. Coming next, Jacob Estey enters the free reed organ business.